on its own side.
Let's go straight to Israel now and speak to Yonah Bob from the Jerusalem Post. Yonah, thank you for joining us here on BBC News. You obviously write on military, intelligence, security matters for that newspaper and website. You're very well connected. What are you hearing about the preparations for this potential Israeli ground operation into Lebanon?
They are very real. They're developing day to day. If you had asked me yesterday, my sources were telling me that an invasion was likely, but it might have still been a week or so off. I'm now hearing it may be even sooner than that. The statement that Israeli Defense Minister Gallant made to the tank corps was not just a throwaway statement. It was a very clear indication. It was laying the groundwork. Basically, I think the Israeli government and military expected Hezbollah to hit back much harder than it has. Right? Israel has killed Hassan Nasrallah, their leader of 32 years. They've killed large amounts of their leadership. Tens of thousands of Hezbollah rockets have been destroyed. And the response from Hezbollah has not been, I'd say, 1/10 weaker than Israel expected, but maybe 100 or 1,000 times weaker than Israel expected. They're shooting hundreds of rockets, but they're not killing anyone. This could change. Hezbollah could suddenly unleash an arsenal that Israel hasn't been prepared for. But that weak reaction, combined with the U.S. tolerance of what Israel is doing, seems to be moving the invasion forward, maybe even sooner than expected.
Yonah, tell me more about what Israel are trying to achieve here, by which I don't mean the stated aim, which is to secure the northern border there, but more broadly than that. We saw strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen yesterday. As you said, there's a real momentum to this. What does Israel hope to achieve from this whole operation?
Right, so I don't want to forget about the securing the northern border because there are 60,000 people who haven't been able to live in their homes for a year. A lot of the world doesn't know about them, so I do want to state that. But you're right, there's a much broader goal. Iran, through Hezbollah in Lebanon, through Hamas in Gaza, through the Houthis in Yemen, and other militia groups in Syria and Iraq, has been trying to surround Israel with what they call a ring of fire since around 2017. This was the plan of the former head of the IRGC, Qasem Soleimani, and Israel is trying to unravel all of that at once. I don't think this was the plan in advance. I think it's been more successful than Israel expected. Israel expected harder problems with Hezbollah, but since it's beating Hezbollah so far, much more than it expected and faster, so it's also been hitting back at the Houthis in Yemen. And I think if you look back at April, when Iran took what probably was its best shot, right, 300 rockets, ballistic missiles, and drones at Israel all at once. None of them did any damage. Israel is feeling more confident than it has in a very long time and is trying to sort of get rid of that entire axis.
You know what is the reaction there in Israel? Because I realize it's a complicated calculation. People want the northern border to be secure. They want people to be able to return to their homes there. But they also have seen the loss of military life, Israeli military life in Gaza. And they remember 2006 and what happened there. So are people supportive of an Israeli ground operation in Lebanon?
I think the country is very split about how the government has handled Gaza. At least half of the country wants the government to do a ceasefire, even if it means withdrawing from Gaza in order to get about 50 living hostages and 50 hostages who've been killed back to Israel. And I think a lot of the country is very critical of the government about that. I think in Lebanon, it's different. There are no hostages there. Hezbollah is seen as completely a terrorist organization. Lebanon has no territorial claims on Israel, right? The United Nations agreed that the withdrawal from Israel from southern Lebanon in 2000 was an acceptable withdrawal. So I think generally the population is very supportive of the government and the IDF going against Lebanon. It could change, as you said. In 2006, Israel's invasion was a big mess. So if it becomes a big mess, support could drop fast. But at least right now, there is higher confidence now than there was in 2006 about what Israel could accomplish in the ground invasion. Will they really be able to get Hezbollah to stay out of southern Lebanon permanently? That's a big question mark.
Yonah Bob, thank you for your insight from the Jerusalem Post, writes on military, security and intelligence matters as well. And of course, as we talk about that potential